Michelle, Otto, thank you for being here and willing to share your story. You were injured by a vaccine or so-called vaccine. Can you share where you're from, your background, and tell me what happened?
I'm from Florida. I'm born and raised here. I work in healthcare. I'm single. I have 3 boys serving in the U.S. Navy. I was healthy. I did Spartan races. I did CrossFit. I ran every morning 3 miles before even I went to work, even the morning before I took the vaccine. I was always fit and enjoyed being outside. I mean, I'm a sports person, so I also, did the hunting and fishing and enjoyed the outdoors. The morning that I took the vaccine, I went for my run, took a shower, and went to go get it. There wasn't much information on it. They asked me how I was feeling for the day and things like that. I didn't really want to take the vaccine. It took me a while to think about it, but I had 3 boys in the military, and they were out in the water, and they were mandated to do it. And if anything happened, and also just to see them, I had to be vaccinated. So with the mandates and my children, I made the decision to take the vaccine so I could see my kids, because I didn't want anyone telling me I couldn't be with my children. I took the vaccine, and you sit in the room for 30 minutes because that's all they do is monitor you for 30 minutes. And when I got up after the 30 minutes, I wasn't feeling very well. I went out to my car and I just sat there for 20 minutes, and I felt like I had the flu. I felt, the fever, the cold chills. I had tingling going down my legs. I just figured if I went home, went to sleep, it'd go away. And when I did, I didn't wake up to the next morning. I actually got my shot at 7:30 in the morning. So I slept all day to the next day. I woke up and my hips, it felt like there was weights on them, and the pain was like out of 0 to 10, I was in 10 in pain. I felt like there was bugs crawling underneath my skin. It was waist down. It felt like weights weighting me down in the bed. And it felt like pins sticking through my body out of my skin. I had inflammation all over. At the beginning, I had inflammation all over. So I figured I've got to get up. I got to walk it off. When I went to go get up, I fell on the floor. I couldn't walk, so I crawled, went into the bathroom, and I pulled myself up. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and for the first time in my life, I was scared. I figured if I walked around for a little bit, that it would go away. I was holding on to furniture, and my legs kept feeling heavy. Even trying to open up like a water bottle or peanut butter, I couldn't because of the inflammation. So I decided to go back to bed. And again, I slept the whole entire night until the next day. That day I was supposed to go to work. I haven't left my house the whole time. So I got dressed, and I live on the 2nd floor. So when I went to go walk down, I realized that I was having a hard time walking. So I sat on the steps like a child, and I scooted myself down, and then I went to my car. And once I got in my car, thank God I left early. That time it took me 20 minutes just to get out of my car because I couldn't get myself out. When I went to work and I finally got up on my floor, I felt like I really should have called out sick, but I figured I was in denial. I thought it would just go away. So as I walked around the floor, the administrator came to me and said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Has anyone had any issues with the vaccine?" They said, "What are you talking about?" And I told them what my symptoms were. And they told me it must be a pre-existing condition and dismissed me. I went to my supervisor and he said the same thing. I went because HR and employee med was on my floor on the hospital. I went there and they told me that nobody else was hurt from it. I went to HR and they dismissed me. At this point, I work at a hospital, so what was I supposed to do? I tried to work the rest of the day. I ended up going home early. This went on for 3 weeks. And as the weeks went on, it felt like instead of 50 pounds apiece on my legs, it was like 100. The pain got worse. The fatigue and weakness was setting in. I was falling asleep as I was driving home. I'd have to pull over. And inside my body, I felt like I was on fire. It's hard to explain to somebody, but it was the worst feeling of my life. By 3 weeks, I couldn't get out of my chair. It started from my waist down, then it went from my wrist up. I finally called my doctor, and she started doing blood tests. She told me she didn't know what was going on. She knew the only thing different was me taking the vaccine. I was never on any kind of medications. I was, at the height of my life, basically. And from there, it just got worse. I was actually at work when I was sitting there trying to get up, and I was a jokester, so everybody thought I was playing a joke. But when they saw my eyes, they knew something was wrong. So the administrator came over because at that time that I couldn't get up, they were actually promoting the vaccine and pushing carts. There were vaccinations ready for anyone to get. And because I had a hard time getting up out of the chair, I again asked if anybody else had an issue with the vaccine. And they said no, that it was safe and it was effective. And I had to have had a pre-existing condition. No one asked me if I could go down the emergency room, nothing. So I called a family member. They picked me up. I went home. I did more blood work at my doctor's office. Every 2 weeks I was going. When a month went by and I wasn't getting better, I was getting worse. I tried to work at least 8 hours instead of a 12-hour shift. I went into a patient's room and she looked at me and she was more worried about me than herself. And when her neurologist came into the room, she spoke about me and she made sure that he came out and make an appointment for me to be seen. Because at this point, I wouldn't be able to see him till July, and this is February. That's a long way. I don't even know where I would have been if that patient didn't speak up for me. Nobody at the hospital spoke up for me. My patient did. So I went he promised me an appointment. I went. I did poorly on the assessment of the neuro test. I had 3 MRIs and a neuroconduction test. At the follow-up 2 weeks later, I went to him. I couldn't get out of the car. I had to call them to have them get me out of the car. They brought me in, assessed me. They told me just to go to the emergency room. And when I went to the emergency room, they checked me in. I had a lumbar puncture, and I was put on IVIG for 5 days. I did actually start to feel a little better. I wasn't feeling 100%, but I had hope because I'm still in denial that this is all going to go away. I thought after this, when I was discharged, this is going to be it. I'm going to be better. 2 weeks after, I was back in the neurologist office, and I felt twice as bad than I did before. So I had to go see a specialist in 2 hours away because no doctor would see me here. I see a neurologist and immunologist. And ever since then, this month marked 18 months of sitting in an infusion clinic between 6 to 10 hours having IVIG infusions. You sit there alone. You can't have family members come back. And you just sit there for 6 to 10 hours. And believe me, you have plenty of time to get mad that you took the vaccine. If I could take it back just once, I would have never done it. Because I didn't know that on January 12th, 2021, it was going to change the rest of my life. I couldn't, during this time of going to the IVIG, I had to go to an infusion clinic. And they sent one of my boys home from Japan. They sent him home to help take care of me. And he helped me do my everyday living, go to the grocery store, take me to drive because I just couldn't do it. And they gave me a walker and a cane, and I started using it because I would fall over when I would go to the store, and people would actually think I was a drunk. It hurt my feelings, and when you try to tell people what's wrong with you, they just think you're crazy. No, at that time, no one in my area, nobody else was hurt, and nobody else was hearing it on the media. So, having a son take care of you, I guess it's a little different than maybe a girl, but I just have 3 sons. He did a great job with me. I only had him for 7 months, so he went back. So he did have to leave after 7 months. And during that time, I did use a walker and a cane, and he flat out looked at me and said, if you continue to use that, you accept being the way you are.
Who said that?
My middle son. He looked at me because when he got off the ship, when I first saw him, he looked at me and told me, you're mom, but you're not my same mom. It hurt because this son was the one I ran Spartan races with. He wore the Batman mask, and it's like doing one of those mud runs where you have you just go through the mud and crawl up the walls.
Really difficult. Very physically enduring.
We would do a 4-mile one or a 9-mile one or a 14-mile one. I mean, it was just running and building a bond with my son. That was everything to me. My boys are everything. But when he told me that, it hurt me. So when he told me that if I used the walker or the cane, that I would accept being this way for the rest of my life. And he said, you're a fighter. You've always been a fighter. Try not to use it. So I didn't. It was hard, and I still do it. There's times I do use it when I'm really tired or it hurts, depending on where I am with my infusions. I try not to. If I go in a store, I kind of lean on the cart and things like that. But I was in denial of this whole thing because originally they thought I had Guillain-Barré syndrome. And after a year and a half, they kind of looked at me, and I went into my for my recheck, and I said, so when is this going to go away? I'm ready. And he just said, no. And I said, you're joking, right? He goes, I don't know what to tell you. Nobody knows what to tell us. They keep me on the IVIG because that's the only thing that works for me, because I'm listed as chronic inflammation demyelation polyneuropathy. I do get tremors. I I have tinnitus. They haven't tested me for anything else. I haven't even had a blood test in almost a year. It's time to get all my blood tests and everything done again. But I've had a total of 3 neuroconduction tests, a small nerve biopsy, and actually I just took the stitches out of my arm, so I didn't have to go 2 hours to go see the doctor to have them do it. I told them I'd do it myself. It's changed my life completely, going up and down the stairs. I do it. I try not, it's my exercise. It's not what I used to do, but going downstairs, my legs tremble so bad, and I usually hold on to 2 things. The IVSG is helping with my everyday living, but it's wearing off. I'm not getting the extent of it that I should. I did better 2 days versus 1. I go 6 to 10 hours. So if this doesn't work after March, I have this up to March 2023, that they're looking into plasmapheresis, putting a port in me and washing my blood and putting it back in me. And that's every 3 months. And I don't want that. So
Why didn't you want that?
Well, you have a port that's going right into your main artery, and I don't want to worry about blood infections, and I don't want to go to the hospital every 3 months. I don't want this anymore. I mean, there's days where you don't want to do this anymore. Sometimes I've been on Cymbalta, gabapentin, and Lyrica. None of them work. I have been on everything. Nothing touches it. I've had to do breathing exercises and meditation. So usually when I stare at people, they think I'm scowling or what have you, but I'm not. I'm concentrating on myself, trying to keep the pain in me. And sometimes I grit my teeth a lot, and I'm not an angry person, but this is the only way I can get through it at times. And I joke with people a lot of the times because I don't want to cry. But there's days where I don't want to get up and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do the medicine anymore. I don't want to do it anymore.
What does that mean?
I get on and I talk. I get on social media, and we're censored. And it took a lot. I finally found a new family of other vaccine injured people, and they are my family. I can't talk about this with my family because they don't know what to say to me. They still believe that vaccines save lives. And even though that I'm injured, they don't tell anybody about it. They don't spread awareness. And if I go to a dinner or things like that, and there's family there, nobody asks me how I'm doing. No one asks me questions. They don't call me, they text me because they don't want to get into a conversation. They compared what I'm going through by people dying from a seatbelt. I feel alone. And you feel abandoned. And on top of working at a hospital, you would think that everybody would be caring and compassionate. Instead, they have ignored me. No one will talk to me in the CEO's office, HR. I've even went up to the corporate, and they assigned me one person because vaccine injuries don't exist. And if I say it on the floor, I get written up. And if someone asks me how I'm doing, they text my boss and say that if I answer, they text my boss and say that I'm talking about it. And I don't feel that I should be censored in hospital. Nobody will talk to me. They've moved people around in HR that into a different building, so I don't have to see them. It was hard enough going into a elevator because I work on HR, on the same floor as HR. If I was in the elevator and they saw me, they would start to get on, look at me, and turn around and walk out.
Why would they do that?
They didn't want to discuss with me about vaccine injuries. Even the doctors, when they got on with me, there was a couple of them that were curious and said, what's wrong with you? Why are you having time? Where have you been? You've been sick. You haven't been walking well. What's going on? At the very beginning, and I would tell them, well, I've never had anyone come into the emergency room with this. I came in through my hospital, and they at first wanted to discharge me before my doctor got there. Nobody wants to discuss it with me. I was told the doctors feel uncomfortable talking to me about vaccine injuries because there's not enough proof that you have it. Even though I have all the proof, all the documentations, I have it written several specialists have it written down that this was from the Pfizer vaccine. They still don't think that I have it. So I'm not allowed to say vaccine injuries. I've had a doctor also tell me that they're not allowed to diagnose or treat. We're in my area. So they keep me quiet.
So, okay, so there are all the things that happened in the hospital and how you were basically completely ignored, and not only ignored, they really ran the other way. And it was very much an inconvenient truth for you to be there. And I guess it just questioned all their paradigms and made them maybe feel bad for what they were doing with the vaccine rollout, or just this kind of fear of the unknown, or all of those things. But it's just obviously, as you're sharing, just so painful to be in that situation. And then on the other hand, you're in a situation here where people do believe in your injuries. Obviously the most important thing here being the pathway to healing and recovery. Is it possible? Obviously, you know that I believe it 100% is, but it's not always easy to be in that valley and to wonder. Sometimes if people have, like, let's say even stage 4 cancer, they've heard of some people reversing, potentially. I mean, a lot of people haven't, but they've heard of cases of stage 4 cancer being reversed. But for whatever reason, there is basically a belief that goes around with the vaccine injury that it's irreversible, which is almost basically more of a fatal diagnosis than cancer in the minds of people, and the way that people talk about this and think about this. Do you believe that you can get better, Michelle?
I believe I can get better. I guess the media says one thing, and I don't trust the media. I don't trust the government. This is a biochemical warfare, and it was used in a wrong way. It's a crime against humanity. And I'm going to do everything I can to show people that you can make it. And I want to, for all the people who can't speak, and for all the families who've lost their families from it, I want to be able to speak out for them. And I want to be able to speak out for the people who have been treated like I have, because nobody deserves it. No one deserves to feel like you're not wanted and you don't matter. The problem is we do matter. And there was a time where I thought I didn't matter because I didn't want to be here anymore. But I didn't want to leave my kids. I contemplated it.
How many times?
Many. But I'm a Christian. And you can't do that. And I can't do that to my kids. But when I was at my lowest point, I reached out to React 19, and they called me, And then my favorite friend that was stalking me on TikTok, she reached out to me, and she gave me hope. My kids gave me hope, but they didn't understand what I was going through. And then my family doesn't talk to me. My work doesn't talk to me. So you feel like you don't exist. And when you don't exist, why are you here? Because no one else cares about us, because you go to doctor to doctor to doctor, you get a biopsy, you get blood work, and it's just, you feel like a lab rat. I don't want to feel like a lab rat anymore. But now that I have a family that cares, I am hopeful. I do pray more. And I do speak out. And I hope one day that I run that 3 miles again. I hope I do.
Well, I believe that you will. It sounds like you're really willing to do what it takes to get better. If you believed that it was possible that you could have recovery, it sounds like you're willing to do what it takes. You're doing things with your diet. You're listening to crazy guys like me. Yeah.
Oh, I'll listen to you. You make perfect sense. I mean, I'll do whatever it takes. I want to show people that we can do this. I mean, the pharmaceutical company, the government did this to me. I got to trust people like you that we can heal and we can overcome this, because there's a lot of people that give up their life because they can't live like this anymore. I understand how they feel, but we also got to give them hope. And if I can recover for this, or just get to where I run, or just be me again, then I can help other people. We can help other people. We can get them going to where I want them to get their life back. That's all I want. I just want my life back. I just want to irritate people. I want to run. It was fun just running up a flight of stairs. I know that sounds crazy, but it was fun to me. You know, hey, you want to race? What? Yeah, I'm in my 50s. Let's go. I bet I can beat you. I love life. And if I can save somebody else, if I can show them that I got better with everything that I did, from not being able to walk, crawling, I mean, not getting out of my car, losing part of my life. If I can show somebody else that I can do it, I would let everybody know. That would be the best thing in the world. That would be the best gift. And if, I always said that God has a sense of humor. He gave me my 3 boys, and they were just, God, they're so much full of energy, and I loved every bit of it. Thank goodness I was a tomboy. But if I can show them that I can be mom again, and we can get these other people to be healed, and if that's the way God wants to use me, because I always wondered, what else can I do in my life? If this is it, then I got to do it. I'm in all the way.
I think that with what you're sharing, there is this hope. I always you notice when I do an interview like this, I always keep hope in tandem. Otherwise, it's the biggest thing that I felt upset about was that, like, people, for example, like Maddie, was getting, like, in a sense, to help a good cause. In some ways, is like being paraded around to get the information out. These vaccines are harming people, but they weren't getting help. And so they were sharing the stories, but for me, I just felt that that's not something I want to be a part of, unless when I'm sharing the stories, it's all in the context of health and healing. And so I don't even speak in a way that would actually, like, put this across like it was a doom and gloom and this is the end, because we then reinforce these beliefs. look at what happens. Look at what these vaccines are doing to people. See how it's ruining lives. See how it's ruined her life. She'll never get a quality of life back. See how I just did a disservice by trying to do something that's in service. It's completely, we're saying things that we don't know. Like when somebody says something like that, they don't know that you actually could get better completely. They don't know what they don't know, and they shouldn't say things that are outside of their league, and they should always believe in the best and go and find information that supports that. So I'm just very much, as you can see, a proponent of understanding people get better, can get better. And I've been doing this work for a long time. I've seen so many case studies. I've looked at people that were given, like let's say David, was his last name, Olson. He was given between 3 to 17 days to live. 17 oncologists gave him a minimum of, he said, last time I saw a patient like you, he had 3 or 4 days and he died. He had a tumor the size of a volleyball in his, like across his gut. It had spread so wide. It was in his groin, neck, and spread so far and wide. I interviewed him 8 years past his diagnosis, cancer-free.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just, obviously that's cancer, but you just keep going through the list of things. I talked about a case with vasculitis, which is a very common vaccine adverse event reaction. Natalia Voloshin, told that both legs would have to be amputated, that her quality of life could never be better again, that she had to have to take steroids and chemo in order to try to suppress the inflammation levels. And then when she did those measures to try to keep her legs, she was then losing her kidney function. Her kidneys were shrinking. They just said, oh, don't worry. Once you lose your kidney function, we'll just put you on dialysis. And then she's got to wait for a kidney transplant. And this was the whole life that she had in front of her. She's back to swimming and cycling. Occasionally we'll text each other. And I know the protocols. In her case, I know the protocols that she used because in this case, me, not a doctor, an investigative journalist, designed the protocol that she took. And she didn't change anything else except for implement that protocol. And she studied that very carefully. In order to replace her when she lost her career as a lecturer and electrical, and she was doing electrical engineering, lecturing, and various things. But it took 3 people to replace her when she lost her job. Very intelligent. So she did a very good job at actually measuring what things helped her and what things didn't. And this protocol, this direction, these formulas, they actually did help her. They helped to give her, in this case, a full recovery. I keep seeing these things over and over. So I know that it's possible. It's just understanding the mechanism and then understanding what interfaces with that, what solves that problem. So I don't speak like just hoping, I speak knowing. But again, I don't even have the tenacity to say, well, I know everything, because I don't. And there are cases where I look at it, I try something, it doesn't work exactly the way I think. So then I just get that next piece of information, and then and we keep seeing the results. So anyway, there's some hope. What do you feel?
I'm hopeful. I'm more hopeful now. I got my family. They're going to push me through it. My new vaccine injured family. I'm going to continue to do these protocols and eat natural, and I'm going to kick this thing's butt.
Oh.
That's all I can do, so I can help others. I mean, I'm going to keep spreading awareness, and I'm going to let people know what I'm doing to feel better. I mean, even though this is going on 2 years, there's still different things I can implement to make myself better. And doing these little things, if it makes it all go away or just make me run a mile, 2 miles, if I can get to 3 miles, I'm going to continue it for the rest of my life, but I'm going to tell everybody about it. There's hope. I know there's hope.
That's great. Good for you. Well, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to share that you haven't shared that you think would be helpful for people?
I wouldn't want any of our children to go through what I'm going through and what other vaccine injured people are going through. There is no way that children should be subjected to have this added on to their vaccine, a list of vaccines that they have to take for school, colleges, or even mandates in hospitals. But our children we need to save because they're our future generation. And I don't think they should be subjected to have this vaccine. I mean, it's a crime against humanity. And what's happened to all of us, we all have different stories. We all have different injuries. But I can't imagine having our children go through this. And they need to stop the mandates on that. They need to stop pushing the vaccine. They need to just, it doesn't need to happen anymore. I don't want another person to get another vaccine and have to go through what I have to go through, or any of my other friends. It's life-changing. And it's a lot of soul searching. And believe me, it puts you right with God real quick. And you have to trust in Him and your friends. And I don't want anyone to take this vaccine. It's hard enough to get support. We get censored. And it's important to speak out. Everybody needs to speak out and stop this. It's the best advice I can to keep your hopes up.
You did it.
Thank you.